Hey there, folks, and welcome to Bay Area Watch Party. And we are discussing The Handmaid's Tale, Season 4, Episode 7, entitled Home. And I'll be watching and reacting. I have seen it a couple of times, and where this is not a Facebook Live first and then a YouTube. This is a YouTube first and then it would then be posted on Facebook because for some reason today, Facebook was incredibly wonky and not letting me do a live. So there's that too. Technology gets me mad. So this was a powerful episode, as almost every single episode of this season has been incredibly powerful. Not almost every episode. And it opens with June stepping off the ship. You might hear my dog bark. If you do, ignore him. June is stepping off the ship and stepping into the country of Canada. Tuello's there, and the other agent who we've heard before. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering her name, but there's a specific protocol about how she has to request asylum, and he asks her, you know, who are you, and basically like, what do you want? what do you want? So we know how to process you, because that's how governments roll. And so rather than freezing the way she did on the boat, June takes a deep breath and she declares herself to be June Osborn, and that she is an American citizen and she is seeking asylum in in the country of Canada. And so the wheels can start turning now. And she and Luke are brought to this so swanky hotel, and I'm wondering if that's the same hotel that the Waterfords were brought to. If you remember that episode a couple seasons back, when they came to Canada to start political negotiations that went way south after the letters from Jezebel's were released, and how Nick helped that to happen. So I'm wondering if it's the same hotel. I think it might be. Y'all can let me know in the comments what you think about that. And we see her going into the elevator with that same kind of totally out of her body June face that she had. We've seen several times. The poor June has been out of her body the entire the entire TV program. This poor girl is not, except in flashbacks when she's been like home in her body and happy, when you see in the past when she was actually more connected to her heart. Poor June hasn't seen her heart for quite some time. So she's in the hotel and she is looking out the window, and she's looking at all the people who are living normal lives, and just people living without fear of oppression and domination, at least not directly. And she's just kind of overwhelmed. It's interesting, she doesn't appear to be really happy, so it's really interesting the use of the Etta James song in this early part of the episode, that at last my true love has come along. It's such a happy song, and triumphant song. And it doesn't feel like she's feeling those things, at least at this moment. I think it's an interesting and ironic use of that song. And as usual, I'm so thrilled with how music has been used throughout the whole series to make certain points. Just another layer of dialogue that's part of what the actors are doing, and part of what the cinematography is doing. So many things that just make this such an excellent show. So they are in the hotel, and Moira has given June a hug. And then we have Luke, who, Y'all know that Luke is not my favorite guy. Um, he is just kind of rattling on here, trying to be helpful. Let's be, you know, he wants to be helpful, but he's not really getting, you know, he can't, I don't think he can just get what she's been through. So he's like, do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to do this? You want to do that? And like so many choices for a person who hasn't had any, who hasn't been able to make her own choices for such a long time, is definitely overwhelming. So she decides she needs to take a shower, and she goes into the bathroom, and then we just see her close the bathroom door, and like it looks like she's just trying to make like a little den for herself, a little place where she can just begin to grasp this big wide world that she's in now. She's come from this little tiny world in Gilead, and now she's in this great big wide world, and she's just overwhelmed, just overwhelmed. In a little bit, she goes to take a shower, and although you can see that the shower was really relaxing for her and like healing for her, we also get to really see the abuse that she suffered, the massive physical abuse of her body, and how she has all of these fresh bruises on her body. And we know she was shot at the end of the last season, and that shot was not tended to in a very strict medical state of mind. She was kind of patched back together by her friends. So it's just really, it's interesting to me that when Serena was arrested, or that she got all this medical care, and you know she sees a doctor, and that's how we find out that she's expecting. But June is just kind of left on her own devices. They haven't taken any evidence off of her or taking pictures of her body. I mean, I would assume she would be pressing charges for what was done to her in Gilead. So it's really it's really a problem to me that she's not being tended to medically like right away. Her being in this stupid hotel with Luke, you know, fussing around a table of food, is really not what she needs right now. She really needs to be getting some medical attention to her body. But she comes out of the shower, she sees him fussing around with the room service table, and she just kind of closes the door quietly and sits on the bed, and leaving him staring at this table of fancy food, not quite knowing what to do as usual, because Luke often doesn't quite know what to do. Then it dawns on him to go check the room, and then he goes in the room and sees that she has curled up like a kitten on the bed, and she's asleep. So he looks at her with love in his eyes. We definitely will give him that. He's definitely being loving, and he wisely does not sleep in the bed with her. That was a good choice, right? For, you know, they're just getting reunited. When she wakes up the next morning after 17 hours of sleep, he's in the room with her on a couch near the window, but he's just kind of lying there, being as close to her as he can. So he has missed her, and so he's going to be as close to her as he can. So she wakes up realizing that she's been asleep for 17 hours, and she's like stunned about that. They're talking about how 17 hours is like a record for her and getting to sleep, and it's a milestone. And they're just, trying to find a way to talk to each other and be with each other. They're both kind of shy, and they're both not quite knowing how to be with each other. He expresses how happy he is that she is back, and that, he didn't think this would ever happen. She invites him to come sit with her on the bed. So that's very, very respectful, that he, doesn't just jump all over her and jump all over the bed, he hangs back and he lets her guide the energy, which is definitely respectful, very helpful based on what she's been through. He lets her know that he didn't eat either. He just hung out with her. She's feeling bad that he didn't get to eat. And he says, she apologizes to him, and he says, no, I'm the one who should apologize to you, June. And he says that he tried to get her out, and that he tried to find Hannah, and that he says he tried every day, and he's apologizing to her, and he's saying he's sorry, and she's telling him to not be sorry. She doesn't blame him. He wants her forgiveness. She's saying he doesn't need forgiveness. I don't really, other than going to the embassy every day, maybe, and talking to people there, I don't see what big moves that he made to free her or Hannah, but that's just me not liking Luke. So the folks who disagree with me, please feel free to say what you need to say about that. I'll listen to you. My mind is open. That right now, just like, whatever. He may have taken steps, but they were bold moves that he could have made that he didn't make. In my opinion. My opinion, don't come for me. So, she's telling him that she has seen Hannah. He was grieving that, of course, he's not being a good and effective partner or husband, that he hasn't tried to save them, and that Hannah's probably forgotten them, and she's reassuring him that she does remember him and her, and she's sharing what she shared with Hannah the first time she saw Hannah after being separated from her, and that was when we were the end of season 3, when the baby had been spirited away, and she goes to the commander's house. The beginning of season 4, where she is taken to the commander's house, and the Mrs. Commander talks to her about Hannah, and she's no. It's even before that. It's before that when the Martha helps. The Martha. It was arranged by Waterford that this Martha would bring Hannah to a specific location, and at that location she got to talk to Hannah. So she's sharing what they talked about at that time, and how Hannah was mad at her and said, you should have done more. You should have tried to find me. You should have done more to try to find me. And so she's not talking to him about what happened the very last time she saw Hannah, when Hannah didn't know who she was, and Hannah was afraid of her, because I'm so sure that her heart's still broken behind all that, and she just can't deal. But she's telling him something that brings him joy, and that alleviates his sense of being guilty. And he, in return, tells her that she is a good mother, and expressing his admiration for her, which she doesn't really believe that she was a good mother, even though, as far as direct action is concerned, June did a great deal to attempt to get close to her daughter and potentially save her daughter. And Angel's flight happened out of her frustration, actually, in my opinion, of not being able to get Hannah, and not being able to save her one child. So a wheel started turning that ended up freeing 70 some odd kids, 80 kids, whatever the beautiful number of freed children was. So she, they're they're trying to find their feet. They both have feel bad as parents, and I certainly could understand that. Like, both of them feel like they should have been the one to save their child. And both of them have a sense of failure and how that all panned out. So I feel them around that. Definitely, definitely. So now June is being interrogated by well, not interrogated, but processed, information gathering by Tuello, and talking about the plans that she went through to get the kids out of Gilead, how exactly that went down. He's asking her why did she do it? Like, what possessed her to do that? And then she's like, that's the only thing that I could do. She explains that she did that to get back at the people of Gilead who had stolen all the children. She wanted them to hurt as the biological mothers were hurting and fathers were hurting, who are separated from their children at the whim of the privileged elite. And she says a powerful line that they take everything from you. Gilead takes everything from you, and right down to your offspring, and right down to making you pregnant and then taking that baby away as well. So Luke is in the room as they're talking, and he comes in bringing her some water. So he's still trying to be wonderful and to her and be kind to her, which is appreciated, of course, appreciated. And he interrupts their conversation to say that, he wants to take her home so she can see the baby and other people there waiting to welcome her. And Tuello's like, well, it's better to debrief before she forgets important information. And he says this line, I wanna take my wife home to see our daughter, which of course tugs everybody's heartstrings, because he is, if anything, a step-parent. And so to hear him refer to baby Nicole as his daughter and their daughter together, of course, is going to pull some massive heartstrings. And in this scene, he definitely shows some fire as a partner and as a husband, where he basically says to Tuello, you know what, you have your agenda, that's great, and I'm taking my spouse home to our house, to our situation, to our life, to reintegrate her back into life. And this is a really, really beautiful scene when the baby gets handed back. Emily hands the baby back to June. Oh, it's right. That definitely gets me every time. Considering the fact the last time that June saw baby Nicole, she was giving that baby to Emily, and Emily was taking that treacherous trip to freedom with the little girl. Oh, so precious, so precious. And so now she has her arms around baby Nicole and is comforting her and getting to know her again. And just that whole process came full circle. Emily was trusted with this little one. She definitely has met her obligation to her friend. She definitely has kept that baby safe. And then, of course, Moira and Luke have done a wonderful job, so this baby is flourishing. And then we have this scene now where she's sitting with a little adorable baby, and she's saying how wonderful the baby is, how great you are, little sweetheart. And she is reminding her daughter that her first daddy, her bio daddy, loves her too. Like, all these people love her, and then her biological father loves her too, which speaks of the affection that June has for Nick, and respect for Nick as her child's biological father. Oh dear, here we have Mrs. Waterford, and she is on her knees, and she is talking to God, finally. Because with all that Christianity, there was no talking to God going on. So she's talking to God, And Tuello happens to be hovering in the room with no respect for people praying. But in any case, he hears her say, you know, how sorry she is. And she kind of snaps right back into evil mode, like she was really vulnerable for a hot minute. And then she noticed he was watching her. And then she went back into full Serena joyness. And saying, well, are you satisfied to see me like groveling or whatever? And, he's talking to her about, she's telling him basically that she knows that June is in Canada. And then they're talking about how June's presence in Canada might affect her upcoming legal mess that she's in. She's being told that Mr. Waterford wants to talk to her and has been trying repeatedly to talk to her. And that she has been avoiding talking to him. She doesn't want to see him. She's like, why should I? And he is trying to, Mr. Waterford wants to not be fighting a two-pronged war, because we know how that goes, usually not very well. He would like to get together with Serena, and both of them come at June together as a team. And she's not really feeling that in the moment. It's interesting. This Mr. and Mrs. Waterford, what a duo of evil. So they are in this situation that's going on. I mean, he's really thinking about how can he protect himself. He's got the legal things happening all around him. I'm sorry, the lighting just got very wonky. I'm trying to see if I can fix that at all. So yeah, I apologize if the lighting is super bad. But yes, so the two of them, the dynamic duo of evil, they really just don't know how to love. They just don't have any idea how to love. But what they do know really well is how to strategize. And that's what he's reaching out to Serena Joy about right now. He wants to talk to her, and he wants them to work together. And the ultimate goal is for him to not be in jail. He does not want to be found guilty of being a war criminal, even though that's exactly what he is. He's a freaking war criminal. So Serena Joy goes to see him, and he is acting all enchanted about her state of pregnancy. He's grateful that she has come. He's telling her everything has changed. The world has tilted because, like, June's in town. He's also really, I think, primarily referring to the fact that they are pregnant. And he's stating that he would like to be a good father to their child. She's not all that impressed with that. He says he wants to be a good husband, which I'm not sure he even knows what that means anymore. He's saying to her that the pregnancy is proof that they should be together and they should stand together as a team. She's rebuffing him, and he says a powerful line that, this pregnancy is as much his as June's pregnancy was. Oh my God. So she didn't take that very well at all. Excuse me for watching that. He wants them to team up and stop and not hurt each other. He wants them to fight together. He wants her to recant his testimony against him. And she's left with a pensive look on her face, not necessarily saying no, but certainly not saying yes at this point. It's a drag. So June wakes up. It's a sunny day. The sun is streaming through the windows. And she's looking around, and I think for a minute she doesn't really know where she is, but it's slowly starting to dawn on her, like where she is and what's going on. And she comes downstairs to this scene of pretty much with a great deal of domestic bliss, because Moira and Luke have really fallen into this really beautiful pattern. It's really nice to see. They have a really beautiful pattern of living together and co-parenting, and Luke is making pancakes, and they're planning their day. It's very nice to see June saying hello to the baby and giving her kisses, which is really sweet. And we just see how comfortable they are as a family co-parenting the baby together. It looked like Luke wanted her to hang out at home. Moira was talking about going to buy some groceries. And so she says, let me go with you shopping, which is kind of disappointing to Luke. I think he was like wanting a bunch of alone time with her. It's clear that's not what she wants right now. She's also agreed to have company in the house that evening over for dinner, to have Emily and to meet her little boy Oliver. And you can see that Luke is kind of disappointed about that, but he goes along with it, and he ends up going to the supermarket with her and Moira, and they have the baby in a pram. They're looking at in Canada all the different assortments of things. You remember the supermarkets in Gilead were almost the cupboards were bare. There were just nothing there because there were all those shortages because they were being boycotted. So there was like nothing on the shelves in Gilead. And here in the Canadian store, things are over brimming. There's 20 million kinds of potato chips. It is quite overwhelming. And you can see the wonderful repartee between Moira and Luke and handling the baby and buying things in the store. And you can just see how they have settled in, and we can really see how June is not settled at all. So she asked to be left for a little bit so she can figure out what she needs to do and, what the heck brand of chips she's going to buy, which is just really like overwhelming to her. And she sees people just walking around and being free, and the same-sex couple hugging in the store, and all these things that would not have happened in Gilead. Like all of these people who are just like living their lives, and then she looks at this huge mountain of potato chips trying to figure out what she needs to do. And when she does that, she has this vision of Alma. And if you recall, that was one of the ways that she and Alma would communicate when they went shopping, between the rows of food, which were pretty much empty. And then she looks again and she sees two ladies, it looks like a mother and her daughter, in red hijab. And so that red hijab flashed her back to her handmaid's cloak and a costume, which of course was red. And she looks about and she sees all the different kinds of waters, and she sees all of these different products, and she just has a series of auditory and visual flashbacks to her life in Gilead, to the capture of Hannah, the saying goodbye to Janine, being stamped with that thing on her ear, being screamed at by Serena Joy, the first time that Serena Joy took her and let her see Hannah, but she wasn't able to get to her. That horrible, horrible scene where she's most totally raped by both of the Waterfords, right after she has the false labor. So she's just completely overwhelmed by all of this, and kind of doubles over in the store. I kind of wonder why she wanted to go to the store. I think one of the reasons why, and I think I heard another commentator talking about this, was that when she was a handmaid, going to the store was like part of her day. And so she was trying to have some of her old normalcy back. Like the handmaids went shopping every day, went to the market. And so she was reaching out for an opportunity to have some of her old normalcy back, even though that wasn't the best normalcy, but it was what she knew. It's like the little boy in the previous episode who was distressed because he missed his life in Gilead because that's all he knew. I think this is definitely June's version of that, where she just wanted to do something familiar. But it really feels like that attempt totally backfired, and she's just crumpled over with memory and thoughts and feelings and sounds of life in Gilead. And most of those feelings and thoughts and sounds were not very pleasant. So now we are, it's the evening, and it's time for dinner. And they have guests coming. So she comes down the stairs and she sees Emily coming in with her little boy Oliver, and she takes a deep breath to kind of steady herself, to kind of be with people. It's kind of hard for her. And so she comes out and into the room and listens to their conversations, and then she puts a smile on her face. And she says, and she greets Oliver, who is the cutest little boy ever. So cute. And she asks him for a hug. And he gives her a nice warm hug. And Emily is so happy to show off her little boy that she had spoken with June so many times when they were captured. Oh, and then there's Rita. What? I don't know why I forgot that Rita was at this party, but there's Rita. And I love her statement. And she's like, praise fucking be, which is really great. Because, Rita was not one for cursing. So there's something very kind of incongruous about that, but also perfect about that. So they're all sitting together and they're all talking about their life. June is feeling really responsible for having screwed up everything for everyone in her mind, and she screwed up Moira's relationship with Una. And she's sharing with her friends a question of whether they feel worthy to be where they are and to be free, considering the things that they did when they were all in Gilead. And they all have things that they did when they were enslaved, that I'm sure keeps them all up at night still. Yeah, they had every right to be free, and they had every right to take the steps they took as enslaved people to get their freedom. And, the deaths, and it's tragic, it's horrible. But you'll really see June struggling with that and having a really hard time with that. So Rita is sharing with them that she has seen Serena Joy, and that Serena Joy reached out to her for help, and June is like, what help did she need? And then Rita shares that she is pregnant. And you can really see June have a very bad reaction to that, and she really, really, really becomes angry. She has that really stressed out Darth Vader look that she gets from time to time on this program. So she definitely has that look right now. Good Lord. So she just becomes really emotional. She's really angry, like sparks are flicking out of her eyes, and then she says F her, and then everybody else says F her, and then they go on to talk about how Selena looked awful, and Moira says we need more alcohol and goes to get some, but we can really see that June is shaken to her core by this information of Serena Joy's pregnancy. She also notices out the window that her girlfriend Una has come up, well, possibly her ex-girlfriend Una, has come to the house and dropped something off at the front steps. And then she, they're talking about how June's escape has impacted her work, meaning that they're not able to get back into Chicago or anywhere in Gilead right now, or anywhere right now, but they're not completely closed down because June was such a high target, high profile get that they're kind of being given a reprieve because of that, and they're waiting to see how it's going to affect them long term. So Una was leaving, but now they're having this conversation, and she kind of apologizes for wanting to leave June in Gilead. But, she did what she felt she had to do. And Moira really wants to get back with her, really wants to reestablish their connection and their relationship. And she's like, you chose your friend over me and our work. And so, there's that. What are you going to do about that? And Moira says, we need to keep talking to each other. Otherwise, we can't move on from this. And Moira has this very, 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 very emotionally rich moment where she is looking back on her life and saying that she was one who kind of played around, and then she met Odette, who she thought was going to be her forever, and then Odette was killed, and then she was dating Una. She thought Una would be her forever, and she wants that. Like, she really wanted Una to be her forever. And if they don't talk together and fight this through, they can't make that happen. And then definitely Una appears to be touched by those sentiments. And she says, we'll have that argument, not when I'm freezing my butt off here, but you will, give me a call, and then we can see what we can work out. That's really nice. It looks hopeful there. It looks like they might be able to reestablish their connection. It's been very hard for Moira to have a love of her own, and in the beginning of the show, that really wasn't a priority for her. She was kind of playing the field and having a bunch of not even partners, a bunch of folks that she was engaging with, some sexually that she didn't really even know their names. There was a scene where June said, "You don't even know her name," and so that's kind of where she was at. But now I really see her, really reaching out, really wanting a relationship, really wanting a love of her own. She's been raising somebody else's child for these, I don't think it's been a full year, although little baby is almost a year old, but I don't think it's been a full year, but still, like, she's been part of the family raising this little one with Luke, that she wants something of her own, a love of her own. And it's nice to think that maybe she and Una can work it out. So let's have a positive thought there. So there is Luke, and he's asking a question that I think is really brain dead. Like, did you have fun? Like, fun is not something that this woman can have right now. I think it's going to be quite some time, hopefully after lots of good therapy, that she could actually be able to have fun. So they're hugging in the kitchen, and they're kind of touching and they're kind of kissing. And she pulls away, and she's saying, it's okay. So that's not really working very well. She's not really ready for all that. She's blaming herself for not being ready for all that. And then he's telling her that, you know, don't blame yourself. And then she walks away. And he kind of stands there, kind of, you know, typical helpless Luke, not knowing what to do. Go read a book, bro. Go talk to a therapist, you know, get some support for yourself. Don't just stand around looking all helpless all the daggone time. Oh, Luke, bless him. So June takes off somewhere. I don't quite get where or how she knows where to go. But she takes off and meets up with Twillo. Maybe she called him and he told her where to be. And she's going off somewhere with him. So we're wondering what that's about. Clearly she's left her house. Oh, and now this is the part where she is going to see, Serena Joy. And Serena Joy looks very much pregnant. Did I not notice that from the previous scene, or it's just more apparent because she's wearing like a bathrobe, a nightgown, excuse me. She's wearing a nightgown. So Serena Joy's doing her thing again. Sociopath, narcissist. She's saying that, you know, this is all about God, and she asked God to bring her to her so that, you know, this is all a result of her prayers. And June is really like, excuse me, you never give me credit for anything. It's, you know, I brought myself here. Don't bring God into it. And she's saying that she believed that the Lord brought her here so that she could make amends, so that Serena Joy could make amends. And June is saying, I brought myself here so I can tell you how much I hate you. She's saying you don't deserve to make amends to anybody. The only thing you deserve is a life full of suffering and shame. Wow. You have destroyed my life and her family and her friends. She is just laying it all out. You destroyed the country. You destroyed her child. And there's no one less worthy of redemption than you, Serena Joy. Nobody less worthy of redemption in the eyes of June Osborn. She does say she's sorry, which just seems to make June even more angry. She like kneels before her, which is an incredibly amazing scene. This scene is amazing. And we want to really notice, there's a really big shift in power here. You know, June is standing above Serena. She's got her hair in a bun, like a wife has her hair in a bun. Serena Joy is on her knees the way a handmaid would be, cowering before her. And she goes on, June goes on to threaten, to talk about how God is going to take that baby from her, and that at that moment she hopes that Serena feels a fraction of the pain that she and so many others have felt having their children taken away from them. And then she holds Serena by the chin and delivers that, "Do you understand me?" that we saw in reverse last season, or the season before. It was the season before last season, where she thought Serena was pregnant. It turned out she thought that June was pregnant, and it turned out June was not pregnant. So that was just a powerful, powerful, powerful freaking scene right there, where June just gets to lay into Serena and say everything that she wanted to say at that point. And so Serena is she knows that June is here and she's out for her blood. She's out for her life. So here comes a scene that in my mind and heart is incredibly problematic. She comes back from laying out Serena, but then she goes to her bed and she begins to engage with Luke, and is beginning to be sexual with him, and he is beginning to respond to her. And at first he's very happy, he's beginning to respond to her, but he also doesn't really feel it, and he also doesn't really want it. And he tries to signal to her that he's not really he doesn't really want this. And she proceeds to take him. And he says to her very clearly, I say, "June, wait, June, wait." And she covers his mouth. So, this is a rape scene. This gentleman is being raped by his wife. And it's really hard to watch. And even though I don't care for the character of Luke, he doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves this. And this whole thing about her wearing that bun and her presenting herself as a wife, and taking that power back, the way she was, against somebody who didn't deserve it. If she's mad at Serena and she's mad at the Waterfords, she's mad at Gilead, that's one thing, and it's understandable. And she's been feeling powerless and out of it for so long. But that's not how you get your power back, by hurting somebody else who cares about you. And there was a similar scene like that when she was with Nick, when she first was, when he first helped her to try to get away before she got snatched off the airplane. But Nick was engaged in what they were doing. He wasn't saying no, and he wasn't saying wait, and stop. He was engaged, and he wanted to be, he knew that she was definitely taking power, but he was consenting to that and present for that and wanted it. So it's amazing how they switch from that scene to the criminal couple getting back together. She goes running right back to Commander Waterford because she feels like she needs an ally now. She doesn't care about him. She is not happy to have him hugging her or touching her, but she needs that ally. And over the scenes of them playing with the baby, she's playing with Luke, with the little baby. And but over the overdub is her talking to Tuello about her feelings about Serena Joy and how evil she is, and she will rape you, she will lie to you, she will do everything that she can do to keep herself in a power position. And that if you feel yourself caring for her in any way, shape, or form, run for your life. And we do know that Tuello has got this thing for Serena Joy. And I'm still thinking that that baby that she's carrying might actually belong to Tuello. So we'll see what happens with that. But I really, I would almost bet on that. So we'll see how that goes. So another amazing episode behind us. Man, I can't imagine how much more amazing this show can possibly be. I think we've got 3 seasons more. I think it's 10 episodes for this season. I'll double check that, but I think that's the deal. Really thank you for listening to this. If you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like it, comment on it, say you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it. If you're in our beautiful Facebook group, I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to be with you live today. Please feel free to comment on the video and we can talk in there. We've already started talking. We have changed the rules of our group for the simple reason that it is simply originally the rules were the episode drops on Wednesday, and that we would not begin to discuss this thing until 3 days later. But it's just been impossible. Everybody's just been on tenterhook. So now the rules have changed in the group that 24 hours after the episode drops, we can begin to talk about it. And I support that, and I'm glad I thought about that, and I'm glad the group agreed because we were all losing it trying to not to be good. And it was a wonderful group. People were very respectful, but it just started to feel just damn inhumane to wait that long to find out and to talk to each other about what was happening. So like the video, subscribe so you can see the next video on any topic. This Bay Area Watch Party is a part of a series of different videos that are here on Better Birth TV that all have to do with the focus of women's issues, birthing, parenting, and the discussion of The Handmaid's Tale definitely dovetails beautifully with all the other things that we have going on our channel. So please feel free to take a look at those other things. Please feel free to let us know if we can help you with issues around your pregnancy. Our website is www.oaklandbetterbirthfoundation.com. And yeah, it's a power-packed episode. You be well and happy, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.